Om Namah Pranavartaya, Shuddha Jnanaekamurtaye, Nirmalaya Prasantaya, Dakshinamurtaye Namaha, Arunagiri Mupedam, Sachidanandamurtim, Ramana iti Prithivyam Vishrutam Jnanasuryam, Gahana Hridaya Vidyam, Leelaya Bodhayantam, Satatam Aham Ameyam, Sadgurum Samsmaradu. Pranams. We will continue with our study of Devi Kalottaram. Verse 22. Niralambamidam sarvam Niralamba prakashitam Niralambamidam kritva Niralambo bhavishyati is the instruction from Ishvara, Bhagavan's translation. Niralambam in the Nikilamum Andri Niralambatal Ulira Nirpa Niralambamaha Cheidu in the Anaitum Niralambam Ahiduvan Endre Ari, he says. So repeatedly this word Niralambam is mentioned. Niralambam is without any support. Alambam is a support. Patrukodu we say in Tamil. Alambam. Niralambam is without any support. The one thing that is not having any support, does not need any support, is that Purna Vastu. That Purna Vastu supports everything else, but it does not need any support. So we can substitute Brahman here in the place of Niralambam. So what Ishvara says is, all this is only Brahman. Whatever and this is what is Niralamba Vastu. This Purna Vastu is illuminated by this Purna Vastu. And so a yogi will have his vision only on Brahman. Niralambam Kritva, what Bhagavan says is, Niralambam Ahat Cheidu, what it means is, make everything as Brahman. I mean, that's a way of saying it. And this yogi becomes Brahman. By doing this, he becomes Brahman. In the previous verse, Ishvara says, there is no lokam at all. There is no creation. There is no lokam. That's what he says in the previous verse. He says, Asadbhutam imam sarvam nasti loko na laukikaha. There is no lokam. Nothing has been created. There is nothing to really say that something has to be destroyed. Nothing has been created. Everything is only an appearance. That's what the last verse says. But in this verse, Ishvara says, this world that you see is only Brahman. So what happens is, in Vedantam, when an aspirant is struggling to realize the goal, one distraction that he gets is the existence of the world around him, because it's going to constantly distract him and he is not able to move forward. So the way in which Vedanta explains the world that is existing around you is to tell you, for one thing, that there is no world at all. This world is mithya. Bhagavan says, unless you have this particular feeling that there is nothing outside, this world is just an appearance. If you don't have that feeling, your mind will be attracted to the external objects, and all the time you will be after the world. So that is why they say that there is no world at all. There is one way of collecting your energy, mental energy, back into the source, to say that all these things is just an appearance, is just a mithya. There's another way of saying the same thing, saying, look at this world as not different from Brahman. This world is not denied, but the world is denied only as having an existence apart from Brahman. If you feel that this world is an independent existence, independent reality, that is denied. As Brahman, it is real, but as world, it is unreal. If you are going to say that something is different from you, something is existing independently on its own, then that is wrong, because what exists is only that one thing, nothing else exists. So in the commentary of this particular verse, Kanakammal says that this method of unifying the diversity that you say, unifying it to say that it is only the Sadvastu, nothing other than the Sadvastu, this particular method is called as Pravilapa Drishti. He uses the word, it's a Pravilapa Drishti. Pravilapam actually means resolving the effect into the cause. To give an example, gold is made into golden ornaments. A necklace, a bangle, something is made of gold. But it is gold through and through. Whichever place you touch, whether it is a necklace or a bangle or some other ornament or a ring or something, it's gold through and through. Are there two substances there? The substance called gold alone exists in all these variety of ornaments. And so, there is nothing, no two about it. It's just only one substance alone. For example, you cannot say that I will have the necklace and you can have the gold. There's no two there. There's only one. But the name and the form makes you think that there is a separate existence. What has been added to the substance called as gold is only a name and a form. It has got a shape and it has got a name for that. But if you learn to look at the whole thing as only gold and nothing other than gold, you have unified the whole thing. All these ornaments are only the final substance of gold. Similarly, the substance called Satchidanandam is alone this universe. We have just added a name and a form to each one of them, but what exists there is only that Purna Vastu and nothing else. The substance, the real substance is only the Purna Vastu. And he has become a way of saying it. Even this language is not accepted. He is only seen in all this variety of forms, but what exists is only that, just as gold alone existed in all the ornaments. Bhagavan used to say this. Yes, talked about it in Ulladu Narpada also. He says, if a thief comes to steal gold, something from your house, it doesn't matter to him whether he steals necklace or a bangle or a ring or some such thing. He sees only gold there. A jnani is like the thief. He has only one drishti, and that drishti is everything's only this Brahman and nothing other than Brahman. So Kanakaika Mahadrishti. This is known as Kanakam alone is there. Nothing else is there. That kind of a thing. So this is another way of explaining, and see that the world is not a distraction for you. So when you see the world and you get attracted to it, you are cautioned. Don't go there. Don't get attached to that. Don't think that this is independent reality. Don't think that happiness comes to you from the outside world. In order to do all these things, they say that withdraw from the world. That's one stage. The yogis, they withdraw from the world. The excitement, the trigger from the world is to be avoided. They say that they withdraw. All their attention from the world, they withdraw and go into that state of Turiyam or the Purna Vastu or some such thing. This is the yogic path. Yada samharate chayam kurmo angani va sarvasaha indriyan indriyarthebhyaha tasya prajna pratishtita, says Bhagavad Gita in the very beginning itself, the second chapter itself. Just like kurmam is a tortoise. When it meets with some threads, all the limbs are taken inside and only the shell is presented to the outside thread. Similarly, a yogi should withdraw from all these things, from all the indriyas, says Bhagavan Krishna. So the yogi withdraws into himself and he completely rejects the world. That's one way of doing things. But another way of doing things is a jnani does not mind the world because he knows that this is only Brahman. He does not see anything other than Brahman. Yogi withdraws, but a jnani engages. He has no acceptance or rejectance kind of a feeling. He does not accept the world, nor does he reject the world. Everything is okay for him because he sees only Brahman everywhere. There is no inside, there is no outside. So when this pravilapa drishti is there, when you are able to see everything as only Brahman, then there is no problem at all. In Ashtavakra Gita, in one of the chapters, Janaka says, a jnani, why should he really reject something or accept something? Na tyago, na grahaha, na layaha, he says. In the entire chapter, these words will keep on repeating. Na tyago. There is no need to reject anything or renounce anything. What is to renounce? It's only yourself. You cannot really renounce yourself or accept yourself. It's all that. So a jnani moves in a world perfectly happy, perfectly contented with whatever happens because whatever happens is only that and nothing else. So that is what is being emphasized here. And this particular Pravilapa Drishti is handled by the Vaishnavites, the Visishtadvaitins. In this manner, they say, Sarvam Vasudeva Mayam Jagat. This entire world is only Vasudeva. There was a great devotee by name Krishna Premi. He was an Englishman. Name is Nixon. He was very popular in those days because he has written a lot of books on his devotion for Krishna. He renounced everything. He was an Englishman who came here to rule us. But then he got so fascinated in this path, he became a great devotee. And he was like a sannyasi. He would carry only a bag with him, and then he will have a Krishna Vigraham with him, and he used to move around. And he was the envy of all our sadhus because of his great Krishna Bhakti. He came to the ashram. And Dilip Roy was there. He has recorded this. It seems he took out his Krishna Vigraham and showed it to Bhagavan. Bhagavan took it from him and put it in his hands, I believe. And he was looking at that Krishna Vigraham, I believe his eyes swelled up and tears fell on the Krishna Vigraham. He was surprised to see Bhagavan shedding tears. He said that I thought that you were an Advaitin, not given to all these things and so on. And then I believe at that time he mentioned that, this is the belief that Sarvam Vasudeva Mayam Jagat. The entire universe is only Vasudeva. Isn't it a great method of loving God? Nixon asked, Krishna Premi asked Bhagavan. James Bhagavan said, that is right. Sarvam Vasudeva Mayam Jagat. But then he says, why don't you look at it this way? When you are saying Sarvam, include yourself also in that Sarvam. This is the Advaita Drishti. Always Bhagavan gives this kind of a correction. So he says, why don't you include also in this Sarvam? Then you are not different from Vasudeva. And that is what an Advaitin says. Advaitin does not say that you become God, but Advaitin says that only God exists and there is no you. That is our feeling. So he was very happy to hear that kind of a statement from Bhagavan, and I think he went with Balram Reddy to various places and so on. But I am saying this, Sarvam Vasudeva Mayam Jagat, this is a vision of the Visishtadvaitins. After having said in the second chapter, withdraw your attention from all the indriyas, indriyan, indriyartebhyo, tasya prajna pratishtita. After having said that in the second chapter, in the fourth chapter, there is a beautiful sloka that Krishna says, which is a very popular one. All of us know this because in every kind of a, puja and offering and other things, we use this one. Brahmarpanam, Brahma Havihi, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam, Brahmayeva Teva Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina is a slokam that we, even in Shraddha ceremonies, we do that because whenever we take food or offer food or some such thing, this shloka is repeated. And what Krishna says in the fourth chapter is different from what he said in the second chapter. He says, all this is only Brahman. Brahmarpanam, the receiver is Brahman. We give Arpanam to Brahman. Brahma Havihi. What is being offered is also Brahman. Brahmarpanam, Brahma Havihi, Brahmagno, this Agni into which you make the offering, this is also Brahman. The Agni that receives this is also Brahman. Brahmana Hutam, the person who is offering, he is also Brahman. So everything is only Brahman. There is no difference at all. This is what he says, and this is an example of the Pravilapa Drishti that is mentioned here. Here, Ishvara says, Niralambamidam Sarvam. All this that you see, this is only Brahman. Niralamba Vastu, the Vastu does not require any support at all. Niralamba Prakashitam, the whole world is lit up by this inner Vastu. This Vastu alone lights up the whole world. You are able to see the universe because of Brahman. Niralambamidam Kritva, make your vision into this, that you see everything as only Brahman. Niralambo Bhavishyati, he becomes Brahman himself. When this vision comes to somebody, he becomes Brahman himself. You all might have heard about Swami Ramdas. Swami Ramdas had an ashram in Kannangad in Kerala. A great Rama Bhakta. Sometime during his career, he was married also, but he left everything because this the Japam, Rama Japam got onto him, and he repeated, and then he did not have interest to continue with his normal life. So he left all that and took up to Rama Japam, constantly reciting. He became almost mad after Rama. He came to see Bhagavan. At that time, he says that he was not enlightened. He came to Bhagavan. And he had a habit of referring to himself in the third person. So I believe he stood before Bhagavan and said, the person standing before you is a humble slave. Please have pity on him. Please give your blessings to him. Since Bhagavan was in that absorbed state, he turned his head and then looked at Swami Ramdas, looked at him fully for about 2 minutes or so. And that gave Ramdas, Swami Ramdas, Papaji was referred to as Papaji, Swami Ramdas, a great thrill. He poured out his, grace on Swami Ramdas at that time. And at the end of the 3 minutes time, it seems Bhagavan nodded, as though to say that, yes, my blessings are with you. After this, Ramdas spent a lot of time in one of the secluded spots in Arunachala Hill. He says he spent about 21 days in seclusion, constantly repeating the Rama Japa that he was having. And then he had that flash of enlightenment. He describes it this way. He came running out of the cave in which he was sitting and meditating. And he says the rock looked like Rama. The trees were Rama. There was a beggar going on the street and ran after him and hugged him and then said, Rama, Rama, Rama. I hugged the beggar. And he says the beggar was terrified. He must have thought I was mad. And he adds humorously, of course, he was relieved that I did not have any teeth. So he said that was the vision that he has. He had. That's what he says. That everything looked to me like Rama. Of course, at that point in time, he went to Kerala and established this. And there is a lot of, connection between Kannangad Ashram, Ramana Ashram. People come to our Kendram also. So why I'm saying this is, this vision of everything as Brahman or as some God or some such thing. This happens when you immerse yourself in that. And then a jnani with that kind of a drishti has nothing to reject, nothing to hold on to. Everything is acceptable to him. And he is a jnani. One is a yogi who does not want the world. The other one is a jnani who says nothing wrong in this world. Both of them are true. They're all from different standpoints and drishtis. So that's what he says here. Niralambam in the Nikilamum Andre, Niralambatal, Ulira Nirpa. It's a Tamil grammatical license that Bhagavan has used in this. Ulira Nirpa actually means Ulirundu Nirpa. This is a method of saying this. Niralambamaga Chaydu, in the Anaitum, Niralambamahiduvan Yendre Ari, he says. As I said, Natyago, Nagraho, Nalayaha, says Ashtavakra, says Janaka in Ashtavakra Gita. Then somebody gets that Jnanam, then he has nothing to worry about. Everything is okay with him, and he can live in any place, be anything, and he has no quarrels with the world and no engagement with the world also. He does not get attached to anything at all. The next verse is Vyomakaram Mahashunyam Vyapakam Yona Bhavayet Samsari Sabhave Loke Bija Kosha Krimiryata. Ishvara uses the word Bija Kosha Krimi. I'll come to that. Bhagavan's translation is Vyoma Vadivahum. Vyomam is the sky. Vyoma Vadivahum Vyomakaram Vyapaka Mahashunyam. Mahashunyam, the great void. Yaduruvan Bhavittidanel. If somebody does not meditate on the state of Mahashunyam, Yandum Avan Bija Kosha Krimi Pole. He will be like that silkworm. Bija Kosha Krimi is a silkworm. Prapancha Pasha Samsariyam. He says, tells Parvati Devi, Par, look at this. He will become a samsari if he does not meditate upon this Mahashunyam. Mahashunyam is a word that has been repeatedly used here. And as I said, the Mahashunyam that is being referred to is Upadhi, that not having any limitation at all. That is Mahashunyam. Mahashunyam is actually Purnam. Advaitin would say that the state is Shunyam from the point of view of not having any contents at all. The mind is fully empty and the mind itself gets dissolved into Brahman. There is nothing at all there in the mind. From that point of view, it is Mahashunyam. But that is actually the Purna Vastu. That Purna Vastu, if you do not meditate on this Purna Vastu, you will become a samsari. And he uses an example, the example of a silkworm. As we all know, we have studied in our science classes. It starts with eggs being hatched on a mulberry bush or some such thing, mulberry leaf or some such thing, yeah. So the caterpillars, they come out, the worms come out, and they get into another next stage, which is known as the stage of a pupa, where there is a cocoon they build around themselves. That is the bija kosha. The bija kosham is the cocoon. They build something, trap themselves inside that, and then they grow. The trapping oneself in is what is being referred to here. We are trapping ourselves like this silkworm, and the cocoon that we build around ourselves is this world of thoughts. Thought after thought after thought. Each thought is a fiber that is winding around you and then making you get imprisoned within this cocoon. So these thought processes keep on. We build these thought processes around ourselves, and we do not know how to get out of it. We don't even realize that thinking is not our nature. Bhagavan says, thinking is not your nature, he says. In one of the talks, he says, it is not your nature. So we are all in that abnormal state of thinking, and we have got used to it. Out of habit, we keep on thinking, and we don't even know there can be a state where thoughts can cease and you still continue to exist. We are so used to this waking state where only thoughts are there, thinking alone goes on, and we equate our actual normal existence with that state of thinking. Of course, we get into sleep and Thinking stops totally. We are very happy in that state, but still we are not convinced that there can be a state of absolute existence when the thinking does not take place. Thinking is not the nature, your nature. You have made it your nature. This is a habit that you have made. And you have practiced being a thinker. This practice being so strong, it continues to happen and you do not know when to stop it and how to stop it. This Mahashunyam is the time when there is so totally a silence of this mind. The silence of the mind is the silence of the universe. Nishprapancham is also the same thing as Mahashunyam. They have seen, especially in India, to find water, we dig through the ground and there is a bore well. There is a big machine that keeps on digging to find water. And this digging machines, these borewell machines, they will run for, hours together from the early morning, even deep in the night also. In the beginning, the noise will be so, nasty and then so, obnoxious. But after some time, we normalize it. We tune it out somehow. Like we have tuned out our nature of thinking. We don't even realize that we are constantly engaged in thinking, whether it is required or not. This machine keeps on going, and then the same kind of unease does not exist later on. But suddenly when the machine stops, maybe it stops at 10 in the night or some such thing, suddenly we realize, oh, there is some change. What is the change? The change is your normal routine has returned. The noise has stopped. A yogi who can stop his mind has this feeling of relief, and then he realizes this is the normal state and not the other one. So Bhagavan says, thinking is not your nature. There was a great devotee by name Lucy Carnelson, and a German devotee. She had known about Bhagavan but not seen Bhagavan during his lifetime. She comes to India. She was in the editorial board of Mountain Path also for a long time. She passed away in the early 90s, I suppose. And she says that when I was reading this sentence, that thinking is not your nature, my mind stopped. The truth of this particular statement hit me, that my mind stopped. And I felt that I should go there and then be with this ashram and so on. She was a Nazi, in the Nazi Germany, she was a Jew and she had a lot of problems. Finally, she comes to India, but after Bhagavan's Mahanirvan. Why I'm saying this is, we have bound ourselves and pushed ourselves into a state which we have normalized, but this is not the nature. Our nature is not to think. Our nature is just being. That's what Bhagavan says. That beingness is what we are really after, and we do not know that. So, all our sadhana is to see, to get rid of this thinking machine. This is the enemy. Mind is the enemy, and we are sleeping with the enemy. This is what we are doing, and we don't even know this. Bhagavan says here, samsari sa bhavel loke bija kosha krimirvyata. This kevala swarupa sthiti is what is being referred to as Mahashunyam. And he begins this verse by saying Vyomakaram in Aksharamanamale, Nunnuru Unayan, Vinnuru. That Vinnuru is this Vyomakaram. Your form is so subtle, Arunachala. Your form is Vyomakaram. Vinnuru, Nannida, Yennalai, Irum, Yendru, Arunachala. When will this Yennalai stop? Yes, Arunachala. So this verse talks about the state of Mahashunyam. Bhagavan says this Mahashunyam, Shunya Vastu, is something. Seeing the Shunyam is something that occurs to everybody during the course of one's sadhana. Every scripture has talked about this. The Guru instructs the Shishya that you are not this body, you are not the thinking mind, you are not the intellect, you are not the darkness of sleep. All these things you are not. And finally, after eliminating the whole thing, see what it is. This is what the Guru instructs the Shishya. In Viveka Chudamani, this is what happened. This whole thing has been described, and the Shishya says, cries out, he eliminates everything, and then he gets stuck at this Mahashunyam. He sees only darkness. He's not able to proceed further. There's nothing to be seen because the Indriyas have stopped working, the mind has stopped, everything has stopped. So at that point in time, he feels so afraid. He cries out and then says, I see only this pall, this great void. There's nothing beyond that. And the Guru tells him, who is the one who is seeing this pall? There must be somebody who is witnessing this and reporting it, that I am seeing. Who is that one? So after eliminating everything, the one thing that cannot be eliminated is this I. That I is the self. So everybody comes to that stage and then goes. So Bhagavan says this light is constantly there. It is illuminating. It is also showing up the darkness. It is only through that light you are able to even say that, report saying, I don't know anything at all. That light has to be there in order to even see this absence of things. And he would give the example of something that in Vidyaranya Swami in Panchadashi says, there is a chapter known as Nataka Shala, Nataka Deepam. Every chapter is made as Deepam. Nataka Deepam is one of the chapters. In that chapter, he says that imagine that there is a drama going to be enacted and the king is going to attend the drama. The Nritya Shala, the Nataka Shala will be lit up with a lamp. It is there before the drama begins, and after everybody has assembled and the drama begins, the light will continue to be there. And the drama ends and everybody has left the place, including the king or the patron, then also the light is continuing. The theater with that light is what you are. That light, like that light which is constant before, during, and after, that light continues. Even when there is an absence, nobody is there, no activity is taking place, that light continues to be there. That light is the Atman. He says, the shloka that is there is this, is a very good shloka. Nrityasala sthito deepaha Prabhum Sabhyamscha Nartakim. Nartakim is a dancer. Prabhum, the patron, the king. Sabhyamscha, all the audience. It lights up, it throws light on all of them. Deepayet Avisheshena. It does not really, choose to light up only one area. Avisheshena, without any partiality. Everybody is lit up in the same man. That abhavopi dipyate. Even when nothing goes, abhavam, nothing goes. There is an absence of every activity. Even then that light goes. Bhagavan was very fond of quoting this thing to say that the light of awareness is never leaving you. Even when you say that I am seeing only a shunyam, the Shishya who says that I am seeing only shunyam and nothing else, even then this light is there. That light is the Atman. Catch hold of that light. Every aspirant at one stage or another would go through this phase of Mahashunyam. And he says, in a conversation with Devaraja Mudaliar, he says, first one sees the self as objects, then he sees the self as void, then finally he sees the self as self. This is a gradual process. Objects are not the self, they are anatma, we leave them. And then you see nothing at all there. If your sadhana has progressed well, then what you see is nothing there. That Mahashunyam is there. And then you see the self as self because you now know that the one who is witnessing is never absent. He is also witnessing this absence. So I am that witness. I am the witness of all these things, and nobody can witness me, but I witness all these things. That kind of a realization comes, and finally he sees the self as self. This is what he tells Devaraja Mulliyar in one of the conversations. So this Mahashunyam is a stage that one goes through, and he says if one knows at that point in time the witness of this Mahashunyam, then he has really understood what Atman is. If you do not meditate in this manner, Ishvara says, samsari sa bhavet loke, you will become a samsari. You will not be able to really get out of the bondage you have created for yourself. Like the bija kosha krimiriyata. This kosham you have done around yourself, you have created it yourself. And in order to get out of this, you should do this meditation on this Purna Vastu, which is also the Mahashunyam. Okay, so this is the 23rd verse, and I will take up one more. And the 24th verse is Sarvayonishu Sarvasya Mahat Klesham Punah Punaha Sarva Klesham Parityaktum Mahashunyam Vichintayet. Again, he says Mahashunyam has to be thought of. And Bhagavan's translation, Akilamam Yonilum Aruyir Yavirkum Miha Klesham Purundum Male continuously. There will be great miseries, great suffering for everyone. Akila Kleshamume Nikkudarku. If you want to end your suffering, Kale is telling Parvati Devi, listen to me. Ma Shunyatai Leshamara Chintai Yatru. Lesham without any break. Leshamara without any break. Constantly meditate upon that Purna Vastu, which is also devoid of all objects. Do that Chindai Yetru, he says. Akilamam Yonilum. All creation, all variety, creatures of various genus, all of them go through this because of taking birth and identifying oneself as an individual. One cannot escape the suffering. Moment you take on individuality, moment you take on a personality, it is impossible for you to escape from this suffering. There is no escape from this at all. He says, Sarva Yonishu, Sarvasya, for everybody. Mahat Klesham. Great amount of miseries are waiting for anybody who has taken birth. Sarva Yonishu. All kinds of, all creatures. In fact, our Shastram says there are 4 types of, births that are possible. One is known as Yonija. Yonija is womb, born from a womb. Andaja, from an egg. And there is Svedaja. This is from a moisture or from water. And then Udbija. Udbija is a seed. All the plant kingdom are born out of seeds. And then there are other types of birds being born out of water or moisture, all the bacteria, all of those things, they require moisture and so on. So all the creatures are classified into these 4 categories. Andaja, Yonija, and so on. So for everybody, there is klesham. Klesham is suffering. And how does suffering come? There is a Yoga Sutra in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. It says, Avidya, Asmita, Ragadvesha, Abhiniveshaha, Kleshaha. The kleshas are because of this avidya. To start with, there is an ignorance. Ignorance of your self. Ignorance that you are actually the self. Forgetfulness of your own real nature. That is the avidya. The mula avidya, the original sin, is the ignorance of one's own real swarupam. We forget that. This forgetfulness, which is called as avidya, leads us to the next stage, which is limiting yourself to be an individual, limiting yourself to be a body, a jiva. So the jiva is born in this manner because of ignorance of oneself. Avidya, then comes asmita, the I sense, the individual sense happens after this avidya, ahankara. Once you have this sense of I, what follows is you like something and you dislike something. You move away from what you dislike and you go after what you like. This raga dvesham keeps on following you. You cannot avoid that because you are seeing so many objects. You see that you are an individual and there are other things. Some of them are satisfying me. Some of them are giving me happiness. So you go after them. Some of them are not giving you happiness. So you avoid them. So these are the final things that keep on happening, rotating within you, and you go through these miseries and these sufferings. And finally he says, Abhiniveshaha. Abhiniveshaha is cling to them. You do not leave them at all. After having gone into this prison, you do not want to come out of the prison. That's what they say, people who live for a long time in a prison, when they come out, the world is so difficult for them to handle, they would like to get back to the prison. That's what we are. We don't even realize that we are in a prison and there is freedom outside, but we like to be in a prison. This abhinivesham is clinging to your miserable life. That is another klesha. But we keep on complaining about suffering and other things. Suffering cannot end unless you realize these are all the things that are causing this thing. They mention a funny story. A businessman, he is in the deathbed, he is about to die. All the family members are gathered around him. All his sons are around him. So this businessman says, is Ram here? Ram says, yes. Is Sham here? Sham says, yes, I am here. One by one, all the children's names he calls out. Everybody is there. Then the man says, idiots, if all of you are here, who is taking care of the shop? He says, and he dies. This is abhinivesham. We are not able to get rid of our thinking at any time, not able to think of anything differently. This kind of a clinging on to life, says Patanjali in his Yoga Sutram, that this is the main cause of all the kleshas. So here, what Ishvara says is, whenever somebody is born, he is immediately getting this mahat klesham punah punaha. The suffering and miseries do not end at all. Sarva klesham parityaktum. If you really want to end suffering, end of suffering. In fact, in some religions, mukti itself is defined as end of suffering. Buddhism does not talk about mukti or moksham the way Vedanta talks about, but Buddha says end of suffering. Do this, there will be end of suffering. That itself is a great release, naturally. So, sarvat klesham parityaktum mahashunyam vichintayet. Almost like a Buddhist shloka, this one. Mahat klesham parityaktum, sarva klesham parityaktum mahashunyam vichintayet, says Ishvara to. Maybe there is time for one more verse. Jnanotpatti nimittam tu kriya charyaha prakirtitaha yogam salambanam tyaktva nishprapancham vichintayet. The word nishprapancham is being used here. Silence of the universe. Everything shuts down. That nishprapancham is what you should meditate upon. Meaning that state where only consciousness, that surging consciousness, you are aware of that and nothing else. There is no content of this consciousness. You should all the time meditate. Jnanotpatti nimittam tu. I will read out the translation. Jnana udaya purute nar kriyai satcharyai tan navilapattadal tan onrai மானதத்தின் உள் கருதும் சாலம்பயோகம் தனையும் ஒரி நிஷ்பிரபஞ்சத்தே நிலை. What Bhagavan says is, you are catching hold of some path, some method. That is salambam. Alambam is a support. You have taken a support of something in your sadhana. That support can be japam or puja, dhyanam, whatever it is. They're all done in the mind. You are caught hold of a support. Even who am I? That question of who am I, Bhagavan says, he says in that text of who am I, he says that this I thought, that aham vritti is the one to be constantly looked at. Only when this vritti has come, all the other vrittis are coming to this aham vritti. So you ask this question, who is this I? And get into the source of this aham vritti, then only the mind is going to stop at the time. All the thoughts are going to end only by going into the source of this aham vritti, because the source of aham vritti is hridayam, which is without any vritti at all, and that is the state of bliss. And then get into that, the mind will completely shut down. And then he says in that same answer, he says, even this aham vritti will also get burnt finally. Even this will also go. And in the end, what remains is only that Purna Vastu and nothing else. That real I alone will shine forth, and this aham vritti will go. And then he gives the example of Pinam Shudu Thadi Pole. Corpse, you burn a corpse. Of course, the old method of burning bodies, dead bodies. Somebody who will be poking the bodies to see that the Agni engulfs the body, and then he sees to it that there is a complete burning of that. And then at the end of the whole thing, he throws the stick that he used into the Agni itself. And that also gets burned. In a similar way, he has taken a very remarkable example. He says, in a similar way, whatever support that you have taken during your sadhana, that support also has to go. Don't keep that support. That support also has to go. This is a very subtle point. He says, salambanam tyaktva. The support also has to be given up, because that state does not really entertain any support. It is a state without any support, beyond any support. So this also has to be given up. If you see, Bhagavan's instructions to all his great devotees has been this. He carefully nurtured the growth, the progress of everybody's sadhana, but then he would keep on giving them instructions. No, time has come for you to leave this and then move on to some other thing. The greatest example is Annamalai Swami. Annamalai Swami, in the first portion of his life in Ramanashramam with Bhagavan, was spent in, building so many things, and Bhagavan never gave him any rest at all. He never would like to see Annamalai Swami coming and then sitting in the meditation hall, meditating with others. He would immediately ask him, what has happened there? And have you done this? And also, he would himself go on and supervise also. Annamalai Swami says that he never had any rest at all. And he used to sometimes, why Bhagavan is doing that to me? But a day came, Bhagavan knew this mind has become very mature. A pakvi, he has become a pakvi. So a day came when Bhagavan, I believe, did not acknowledge the presence of Annamalai Swami at all in the hall. Several days passed, and then Annamalai, he did not even look at him. And whenever Annamalai Swami tried to go near Bhagavan, Bhagavan would turn his head in the opposite direction. So one day he was very upset. It was a night time. There were some people in the meditation hall, but he did not know, why is Bhagavan treating me like this? So he went outside the meditation hall and then stood there for some time, crying inside. What has happened? Because the kind of an indifference from Bhagavan was something that he could not really bear, the agony of that indifference. So when he saw that the meditation hall was empty, he went inside and asked Bhagavan, Bhagavan, why are you doing this to me? Whenever I come near you, like a Muslim lady, you are closing your face. Like a Muslim lady, what have I done? Please tell me, I will correct myself. Seems Bhagavan asked him, are you a Nastika? He was totally taken aback. Bhagavan, what is this question? I'm not an Astic, I am not an atheist. He says, Bhagavan told him, I believe, a mature devotee like you, if he thinks that his God is separate from him, apart from him, he is as good as a Nastika. Look at that Upadeshan. If a mature devotee thinks that his God or his Guru is separate from him, apart from him, that feeling is as good as being a Nastika. He is denying something. Whatever I have to teach you has been taught. There is no need for you to be with me any longer. Go out. Gave him a clear instruction, don't stay in the ashram. And Annamalai Swami, being a great devotee, immediately followed. He went out to the ashram, though it was not possible for him to bear the separation. But every day he would come to the meditation. He built a house. It's another story that Bhagavad built his house in Palakuttu. All those things instructions he gave, and he was living there and used to come every day to the ashram. And he would tell him that there is no need for you to come into the ashram also. Bhagavan told him. He stopped coming to the ashram. But during the walks, they would meet. Bhagavan would be going, and then Annamalai Swami will be coming then Annamalai Swami will come prostrate before him, and then talk to him. Bhagavan would exchange some words with him and so on. Then one day he told him, even that is not required for you. I am minding my own business. Now, why are you coming and disturbing me? There is no need for you to meet me and talk to me. One by one, he cut off every one of the things. And he told him, I believe, you're touching my feet. But the real feet that you have to touch, the inner Guru's feet within you, touch his feet. Your Guru is within, he is not outside. The external Guru will disappear at any time. Or the least that would happen is the attendant will say, don't touch. One of the will happen. These are not real. Your inner Guru is real. Be with your inner Guru. That also Annamalai Swami followed. He stopped seeing Bhagavan, meeting him, exchanging words, and he completely took a different route whenever he had to walk. Completely cut off every connection. In fact, in the ashram, people were really very upset with Annamalai. They did not know that Bhagavan himself was giving these instructions. They were all very upset with Annamalai Swami. How arrogant he has become. He's not coming and then seeing Bhagavan. He's saying somewhere else all these things. They were thinking. But Annamalai Swami strictly followed every word of Bhagavan. After a few days, it seems, Annamalai Swami says this, after a few days, Annamalai Swami heard a knock in his door, opened the door, and he found Bhagavan standing in front of him. Bhagavan himself came to meet Annamalai Swami. I wanted to have your darshan, that's why I came, seems Bhagavan said. Annamalai Swami was totally overwhelmed by that. Bhagavan, why are you using words like having my darshan and all that? Yes, it is true. How many people follow the Guru's words so very, sincerely and strictly? So having somebody who can follow however unpalatable it is to you, you are following my words. Such a Shishya is very difficult to get. That's why I wanted to have your darshan. Seems that's what Bhagavan said. But Annamalai Swami never came to the ashram later on. Even during the last few months of Bhagavan's life, Annamalai Swami did not visit the ashram. And he saw that Jyoti going up at the time of Bhagavan's Mahanirvan from his house, the terrace. And then he knew that the end had come, but he did not go and meet him. So every place Bhagavan was cutting, Annamalai Swami's dependence on him. Salambanam is the dependence. Alambanam is support. So this support, this dependence should go. And then he meticulously saw to it that an ordinary mason became a Jivan Mukta in this manner. So when Bhagavan says all these things, they have all happened in Bhagavan's lifetime. Jnanotpatti nimittam tu kriya charyaha prakirtitaha. It is only for the generation of jnana that all the kriya and charya are given. But once jnanam comes, all these things are not necessary. Like he told Papaji that they're all just like the jatka that brought you here, the train that brought you here to Tiruvannamalai. You discharge them, they served their purpose, their job is over, they have all gone. Similarly, all your japam and dhyanam, they are not required any longer because you know what the real vastu is. You know also how to reach that vastu. All these things are not really required. But only a Sadguru knows your progress and he can say. And the instruction given to Annamalai Swami or Papaji, we cannot really take. We have to honestly examine within ourselves, have we reached the stage? If the answer is no, continue with what you have to do. Your progress will have to be gradual. But in his case, this is what happened. Bhagavan saw to it that all the alambanam, all the support that Annamalai Swami was taking, they're all removed one by one, established him in that particular great supreme truth. So with this, I will conclude today's.